everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet this pretty napkin ring. It's just a crocheted band, and then we've added a buttonhole and a button, and it just comes together very simply and buttons together, and then you can slip it onto a napkin. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, a button, one per napkin ring, and you'll also need a 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook, and then your yarn. I'm going to be using some Lion Brand's wool spun yarn. This is in the pumpkin colorway, and then the one I showed you here is in the honey colorway, just in case you want to match up these colors. And this is, we'll just be using some yarn leftovers. This isn't a full skein or anything like that. So you could buy, if you want them to all match, you could buy a ball of this and make several. So let's get started. Our finished napkin ring measures about 2 inches wide and about 6 inches long. To begin our napkin ring, we're going to put a slip knot on our hook. So wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your crochet hook and bring up the loop and tighten. Next, we're going to chain 6. To make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So here's our starting chain. Next, we're going to work a half double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So this loop here does not count. So let's count 1, 2, and 3. So in this chain here, we're going to work a half double crochet. So to work a half double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the chain, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, and bring it through all 3 loops on your hook. Then we're going to work a half double crochet in each chain all the way across. So we'll just go all the way across with the same stitch, and in that last chain as well. Okay, so now we have our width established. Okay, so let's work row 2. I'm just going to get a little bit more yarn. Okay, so to work row 2, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and turn our work. Now this very first stitch here, we're going to work a half double crochet, and then a half double crochet in each stitch across. And then finish up the row by working a half double crochet in that turning chain. You'll see a little loop at the top there. Just work a half double crochet in that turning chain as well. Okay? So we're going to work this row that we just worked for a total of 8 times. So repeat row 2 for a total of 8 more, or for a total of 7 more to equal 8. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So we're just going to keep going with that. So we're going to chain 2. I'll get the first row started. Turn, work half double crochet in that very first stitch, and in each stitch across, and in that turning chain. Same thing we did in the previous row. Okay, and then we're going to do this for a total of 8, repeating row 2 for a total of 8 times. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and repeat that, and then we'll rejoin at the end of those rows, and I'll show you how to work this buttonhole at the end. Okay, so I went ahead and worked row 2 for a total of 8 times. Now we're going to add the buttonhole row and then finish off the top, okay? So for our buttonhole row, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and turn our work. We're going to work a half double crochet in that first stitch again, like we did before. Then we're going to chain 1, skip the next stitch, and then work a half double crochet in the stitch after that. So we're hopping over 1 stitch. Then we're going to work a half double crochet in that last turning chain. Okay, so you'll have a buttonhole. And then we're going to work 1 more row to kind of give a little strength to that top, so it's not just 1 little chain holding your button on there. Okay, so for the very last row, we're going to chain 2 again, chain 2, 1, 2, work a half double crochet in that first stitch, work a half double crochet in the next stitch, work a half double crochet right into the buttonhole, right into that space, work a half double crochet in the next stitch, and work a half double crochet in the last stitch. Okay, so our napkin ring is complete. So all we need to do now is weave in the ends. So we're just going to cut our yarn and fasten off, and then put our hook aside. We're just going to grab a tapestry needle. You need to give it a little twist to thread it. I grabbed, even though this is a chunkier yarn, I grabbed one of my thinner tapestry needles to so we can sew the button onto it. So I just threaded my tapestry needle. I'm just going to go in one direction and then come back in the other direction just to kind of lock that little tail into place. Grab my scissors and trim. Repeat for the other tail. You'll have two tails. So just go ahead and thread your tapestry needle, giving a little twist if you need to because the yarn is chunky. I also wanted to mention, if you want to substitute yarn for this project, if you want to go in your stash for something you may already have, just look for something that also recommends the 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook if you want the same dimensions that I got with this napkin ring. Okay, and we're just going to trim that tail. So our tails are woven in. So let's do the button part now. Okay, so we're going to grab our button and then just grab a piece of yarn. Just, you can cut a piece of yarn about 8 to 12 inches, give or take. Then we're just going to thread our tapestry needle with this yarn. I'm doing a matching piece of yarn. And what we're going to do is kind of lay it out like our other one. So we have our buttonhole. So we're going to put our button down here because when you wrap it around, you want it to come back around to the front and button. So if you lay it out like this, the buttonhole's on the left, the button is on the right, just like that. Okay? So just take your button and position it where you'd like it to go, and then you just can come up from the back with your tapestry needle and yarn and go back down. Now before you select a button, make sure that your tapestry needle can fit through the buttonholes. A lot of buttonholes out there have really teeny tiny holes, and it's hard to get a piece of yarn through. They're more for sewing and thread and little tiny needles. But especially because we're using chunky yarn, just test it before you commit to a button, okay? So I just went one direction and then came back in the other direction. And then I'm just gonna tie a nice knot onto the back. You can make more passes through the buttonholes if you like. Okay, so I have two little tails and I'm just gonna weave these in as well. So this is I used chunky yarn on purpose and a larger hook instead of thinner yarn, because if you want to make these for a Thanksgiving dinner or another party or holiday, this allows you to work up several very quickly. This only took us a little bit of time to make this one. So you can make one for each person at the table, and you can make it match whatever holiday. I made mine sort of fallish looking. Okay, so just come in one direction with the other tail, because we had two tails for our button. Come back in the other direction to lock that tail right in. Then you can just take your scissors and trim. And your napkin ring is complete. So now we have two. Now when you have your napkin, now this is just a scrap of fabric. This isn't technically a napkin, but I just have like a little scrap piece of fabric here. What I like to do is you have it in a square. I don't know any fancy napkin folds, so all I do is go in the very center of the square and pinch it and just pull it up and give it a little shake. It kind of just looks like a nicely folded napkin, and you don't really have to do anything. And then you can just lay your napkin ring out and just kind of give it a tuck right there in the center. Lay your button over, button it with the buttonhole. It'll stay on nice and securely, and then you can kind of straighten it out. Again, this isn't really a napkin, this is just a little piece of scrap fabric I had. Okay? And that's it. That's all you have to do, and you add a little homemade touch to your table, and it adds a little bit of texture with the wood button and the chunky yarn. So that is how you crochet these beautiful buttoned napkin rings. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. Thanks again.